16 days until the draft, buddy, and thank God because we need something new to talk about.
Yes, sir.
But we do have Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, on the show tonight to help talk. Well, he's going to give us his opinion on the offseason, the signings, the free agency, going into the draft, what his takes are and everything. So, yeah, let's get started, bud.
Let's go.
And welcome in, folks. It is episode 168 of Out of Your Falcon Mind, Atlanta Falcons Fancast. My name is John, one of your hosts, joined by my co-host, Mr. Mike Cottrell, on a Tuesday night. Buddy, what's going on?
On a Tuesday night, man, you making me want to go get one of those Braves shirts, man. That is epic. That is the best one they have that I've ever seen.
Well, yesterday was the 50th anniversary of Hank Aaron's 715th home run. So they did a huge thing at Truist Park, honored him. So I figured I'd just break out the Hank Aaron jersey for tonight.
Awesome, man. That is the best one I've ever seen. I got to give me one of those.
Yeah, I love it. This is my favorite version of their one of my. The baby blue is really good too. For their the old
better than that one.
It's neck and neck. I mean, I like this one.
I gotta check it out. I gotta get that one though. I'm getting that one.
Baby Blue's pretty damn sweet. But yeah, man. So we got our boy Mr. Dave Choate. We're bringing to the show right now from the Falcoholic with us tonight, man. Dave, what's up?
Not much. Good to be back. 168. It's crazy.
Right?
We're still going, buddy. We're still going. We're still
going strong.
Man, Dave was on at, I think he was on at like 4 or 5 or 6. So he was on one of the early ones where it was just me, John, and a microphone.
Yeah, no, you know what? No, he wasn't that early because I was too afraid to reach out. I was like, he'll never come on our show because we have like 16 viewers at the time. Yeah. Like, there's no way. And then I reached out and he was like, dude, yeah, I'd be glad to. I think you said you were overdue and it blew me away. I was like, no shit. All right, well, hell, let's do it. So, yeah.
The first 2 years I wrote, there was like the same 2 people. You know, it was the pre-nudes and bio era, but people, spam comments and stuff like that. So
right,
yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, no, but Dave, I think this is what your third or fourth time actually on the show. Might be the fourth. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So, but we've been trying to link up. Everybody knows Mike and I's schedule has been kind of crazy. Obviously, your schedule is what it is with the Falcoholic doing stuff. Even though this is a dead time of year. You've still been putting out a ton of content. So, what tell the folks that are in the chat now or watching now, what you guys been into at Falcoholic?
Yeah, I think we're all geared up for the draft, right? So, I know Kevin Knight's got a new mock on the way. He's doing all things draft, gearing up for 3 straight days of draft shows. I'm always amazed he can talk by the end of that. But and then
I know.
From my end, just trying to figure out if we're getting any more signings or not. Wrote something earlier this morning about how Terry does not like to have needs going into the draft, which we know. But even if it's not super satisfying to sign, 2 guys who haven't played in 2 years and so forth, he's going to plug those holes, and he's doing it. So
yeah,
we'll see what's next. Yeah.
Well, Dave, what's your favorite time to write, like in the whole yearly process?
It's probably the draft, honestly.
The draft, okay.
Yeah, and I love during the season. Like there's a routine, so everything keeps going, and early in the season before things go south, it's a lot more fun. Not this year, but years past. Yeah, but the draft is great because to me it's just like a time of possibility. You don't know what's going to happen. Like you got to learn really quickly who these guys are, sometimes how they fit, why they're here. So that's always I think my favorite time of the year. Just because everything seems possible for a little while.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Hope is like for sure at the top of everybody's list this time. Like you think about who you can get and what the team can look like, and what we can possibly do. But guys, tonight on the show we have what's new as always. Then we'll have, like I said, Dave's take on free agency and the draft coming up and just his opinion. We're going to talk about we were going to talk about the new kickoff rule like a week or 2 ago, and I think with Savion, we just got too busy, didn't really talk about it, but we'll talk about it tonight because it is interesting. It's definitely going to be a change for the game. So we'll talk about that. And welcome in any new viewers, any new listeners, and we appreciate you guys. If you are here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. If you haven't already, man, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us and talking Falcons. We are here every week pretty much throughout the year. In the season, you'll see us twice a week doing a preview and a recap of the game for that week. And then when we have time, we'll throw out videos. And I was doing some free agency stuff, and then it just schedule got nuts. Couldn't keep doing it. I had to call it a day. I'm gonna try my damnedest to get a couple of draft videos out, but I don't know if that's gonna work. But I'm gonna do my best. Yeah. And if you're listening to us, man, drop us a 5-star review on any of the platforms that you can there. And again, anybody watching this on Twitter, you guys, your comments will now show up on the chat. So if you want to comment, feel free to join the chat, and we'll shout that on there. So before we even get into it, man, let's say hi to the chat. Kenny, what's up?
What up? He said, what up, fellas, and everyone in the chat. Let's make sure we smash that like button for our boys out of your Falcon mind, because they always cooking like teriyaki, baby. I love it.
Kenny.
What's up,
Thank
Kenny?
you, buddy.
Birdo, what's up? Out of your Falcon mind, my brothers was popping. Salute to the great Dave Choate.
Hey, make sure y'all
get a quote from Choate.
He had a great show today on Bleacher Report. Make sure y'all check out when he goes live on Bleacher Report. He's doing a hell of a job over there, as well as his own channel, 95 North Falcons Talk Show. Hopefully it was cracking, buddy.
Hopefully, Birdo, Kenny Chat was good. Brian said, good evening,
Brian,
John. Mike, he came formal. Gat boy, what up?
What's up, boy? Midas, what's crowding, man?
Midas, you got that Midas touch.
Yeah,
I told you, the Braves blue is. I got to give me one of those.
Yeah, I don't break this out very often. I got to keep the Hank. I got to keep the Hank.
Where did you get that from, John?
I mean, I've had it for a few years now. I probably got it at the stadium. Yeah.
Okay.
It's I got to keep the 44 clean. I can't wear it to games and get ketchup and mustard on it. I can't risk it. So gotta be careful with that. Man, Gary, what's going on?
Up?
Good to see you.
Excited for the show tonight.
Dr. Slick Nuts. What's cracking,
man? Dr. Slick Nuts. Great name, buddy. Vamos, Bravos.
I love the name. And yeah, we're up 4-0 right now. I got the Braves on the other screen going on right now. So everything's looking good. Hopefully we hold the lead tonight, unlike last night. All right. Now what's new, man? Today is National Grandparents Day, guys. National Grandparents Day. So if you guys have your grandparents in your life, man, reach out to them, give them a call. Cause I don't have any of mine, unfortunately, anymore, but damn it. Like my grandpa was the man. Like anytime I wanted to go out and hit baseball, he was out there throwing baseballs with me every night. It didn't matter how tired he was. I'd ask, he'd go out there and he'd throw me baseballs. I'd hit him with the baseballs. I didn't mean to. I'd hit him. He'd keep throwing to me, man. So shout out to my grandpa, man. But just want to throw it out there, man. Mike, you got any cool memories?
I do want to say I was supposed to have 4. You're supposed to have 4. Well, I only had 1 my whole life, and I didn't even notice. So that's how good she was. Because I didn't notice that I didn't have the other 3. I only had 1, and she was so good. And the greatest story I ever had is I remember I was in church one time, and she beat me. She spanked me in church, and then right after she spanked me, she said, you want some Skittles? And it just jammed my mind up. I don't know how I feel about my grandmother now. She spanked me and then offered me some Skittles, which is my favorite candy.
She immediately felt bad. She's like,
so she felt bad. I think she spanked me and she felt bad, so she gave me some Skittles. So shout out to grandma. I love you. And you got to be nice to your grandparents, because you one day will be a grandparent. So call 100%.
Them up. And you know how long it'll be. Yeah, Dave, what about you, buddy? Any cool memories or anything?
Oh yeah. My great grandparents. I was lucky that way, but my grandfather was my favorite. Hung out with him all the time, and he was a painter, and I got a bunch of his paintings around my house. So it's
that's
a cool way to remember him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, I mean that's awesome. Real quick, man. Also, I meant to mention the top of the show, but shout out to Chris, A1 Sports Forever, and Terry from One Time for the Fan, and Smitty. We did a little Braves talk the other day, and we did about an hour worth of Braves. Chris invited me on, man. It was fun. We're going to try to keep doing it as long as our schedules can kind of get together. But that was a fun, man. So shout out to those guys, because that was a fun show. Berta said, damn, lost both grandfathers. I give it all up to have them here and be a part of some great conversations. Man, you're not lying, dude. You're not.
But they know so much, and they got so many stories, so you got to talk to them.
And when you're young, when you're a kid, you take a lot of that shit for granted. Like you just kind of like, all right, grandpa, but then you get older, you're like, damn, like if I could just like have a conversation now, like, man, how cool would that be? Shout out to Don Staley, man, and the South Carolina women's team for going undefeated and perfect season, beating Iowa and insane ratings too. Dave, you see the ratings on that thing?
It's so awesome to see, man. Like it's
amazing.
Yeah. People can say what they want about the women's game not being as popular. It clearly is. It's awesome, and like great basketball, start to finish.
Yeah, it was, man. It was awesome. And then I'm like, I know you used to be. Are you a wrestling fan at all?
No, I don't watch
Dave,
it anymore.
I know you don't even watch it anymore. But Dave, are you a wrestling fan at all?
I watch it occasionally. My college roommate was huge into it, so I did all the time, college, post-college, but not so much anymore.
It's the Ultimate Warrior for me, buddy. That was a long time ago.
Ultimate Warrior. I had
the best
Palmer pin every single time. Yeah.
The best, right?
Yeah, so like I grew up. Well, we're all around the same age. So like when I grew up, my back to my grandparents, my grandma, and my grandpa. I go over their house. They loved it, and they thought that shit was like for real until the day they died. And if you try to tell them anything different, you get cussed out the house. You were like, nope, that's not happening. But man, like, so I go over there and watch WCW like on Saturday mornings, Friday nights, man. That's how I started with WCW. Then I got in WWF. But like the first couple of guys, like I remember Ricky the Steamboat, the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Sting, like those guys are what got me into it initially, like WCW, like old school, Ric Flair, all those guys. And then I was heavy into it, probably into like just past like when Stone Cold and The Rock kind of dropped out of it, and like that next wave kind of came in, kind of like just lost interest. But I've been casually watching over a little bit, and then I watched WrestleMania this weekend, biggest WrestleMania they've ever had up in Philadelphia. Shout out to Berto, he went. Wrestling is real, damn it.
Okay,
they do get,
damn it.
They do get hurt. They do get hurt, but he went to Philly, man, and they. I mean, it was awesome. It was just a really damn good WrestleMania. So that was, they broke all kinds of records with attendance, and they had, I mean, the Undertaker was there, John Cena came back.
Oh wow.
It was, I mean, The Rock obviously was there because he's was part of the storyline. So like, that was cool, man. That was fun to see. Carrie's grandparents are the best. I still have both my dad's side, but neither one on my mom's side. And fuck cancer, absolutely, 100%. Marlon, what's up, Marlon?
What up?
Hey, it's all good, buddy.
We just got going. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite painting, Dave?
That's a great question. I got one of he did of sunset, like when he was like in his 20s or something like that, hanging up. I love that thing. It's awesome. Yeah, it's just like awesome. He painted like hundreds and hundreds of things. So it just everybody in the family's got a bunch of them. It's great.
I love it. My sister, she's a painter as well, and she had she has an amazing like beach scene, which my parents had on their wall forever. I didn't know. I think my mom still has it. She got every ounce of the artistic gene for that that they had. Like I got zero of it as far as that part of it goes. But yeah, she was amazing. Jay Black, what's up, buddy?
I could take photos, but my brother, my mom, they're the ones that they can paint, they can draw. I can't do stick figures even.
No, dude, mine are terrible. No, but the heads are not even circular. They look like some kind of weird watermelon. It's not even right. Yeah,
you're like a second grader drew this, and you're proud of it. It's me. It's the 40-year-old man,
Yeah. Oh, my kid was drawing better than me when he was in kindergarten, and it's not an exaggeration. Carrie said WrestleMania's main event was nostalgia. Oh, it was unbelievable. Brought back so many childhood memories for sure. And if y'all know, Cody Rhodes won the championship from Roman Reigns, who's Dusty Rhodes' son. So it was cool. It had me tearing up a little bit at the end. I ain't gonna lie, I was a little emotional. She said, "Nice, yeah, that was good." Good call there with the sunset.
Speaking of what's new, though, speaking of childhood memories, I got to tell y'all what's new. That's super exciting. I saw it the other day. I almost backflipped and lost my mind. Beetlejuice is back, baby. Beetlejuice got a new movie coming out, baby. I don't know who's going to be Beetlejuice. I hope it's the same. Is that Michael Keaton?
Yeah, it's Michael Keaton.
Beetlejuice again?
He's doing it again.
You got to bring the same characters back. Your Winona, you got to bring the same people back.
Yep,
I cannot wait. I'll be the first one in the theater. I can't wait.
She's back. What's her name from Home Alone and like she's Catherine O'Hara. She's back.
I cannot wait.
Yeah, and then chick from Wednesday is in it too. I can't think of her name right now.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Wednesday on Netflix?
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah. Did you ever watch it, Mike?
What?
Wednesday on Netflix.
No, I haven't seen Wednesday.
Dude, you gotta watch it. Did you see it, Dave?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, both y'all gotta watch it. That's awesome. They did a hell of a job with it, man. Really, really good job. All right. So some Falcons talk, and my dog's going ape shit if y'all can hear him. So what's new with the Falcons? they did sign a couple of guys, and Dave, we joked about it earlier today. We were texting. We're not going to spend a ton of time on these guys, because I mean they are kind of depth signings, but we were going to mention them. So they signed Kevin King and James Smith-Williams. So Kevin King hadn't played in 2 years, kind of like our buddy Goldman. He's 29 years old, 6'3", 200 pounds. He was a second rounder in 2017, just never really panned out. Does have that history with Jerry Gray there in Green Bay, 33rd overall pick. 2021, he only played 28% of his snaps, which was his last season. In 2019, he played 77% of the snaps and actually got 5 picks that year, but just never really, like I said, truly panned out how they wanted it to be. Really super low risk, high reward type of thing. I mean, you're hoping that he can come back and do something, I guess, have that second round type of talent. But yeah, it's about, I don't have a ton of, faith that he'll make the roster, but like I said, we need some corners in the room, so you never know. What's your thought, Dave?
Yeah, I think if he's going to succeed anywhere, right? There's 3 coaches on staff that coached him. Obviously, if those 3 guys want him here, they think there's something still there. And the tragedy of 2021, I guess, was like that looked like it was tracking to be the season he figured it out. Like he graded out really well in coverage. All of his rate numbers were much better that year, so he looked like he was heading for something. And then injuries piled up, didn't play the next year, got injured trying to come back last year. So it's kind of an Eddie Goldman situation where you're like, this guy was good a couple of years ago, we know him, we believe in him, but you as long as you don't go into the season going, Kevin King is making this roster, and then you're like, oh, shit, Kevin King is not going to make this roster. I think you're okay. So the same thing with Goldman, right? Like if both of them pan out, great. Just don't expect it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think he took a year off for like mental health reasons, and then he came back, tore his Achilles, and then basically just spent the last year trying to get healthy. So, but like you said, with the crew that we have in the secondary, hopefully if anybody can get them right, they can. And then James Smith-Williams from the Redskins was a free agent, 27 years old, 6'4", 265-pound edge. He was a 7th rounder in 2020. So the fact that he's even still in the league is kind of impressive, to be honest, because you don't see too many 7th rounders hanging around past 3 years. So the fact he's still in the league and somebody wants his services is a good thing. He's had 1, 2.5, and 3 sacks, respectively, in the last 3 years. He did have 16 QB hits in 2022, plays anywhere between 35 and 50% of the snaps. At least that's what he has been in his career. So again, kind of a rotational type guy, assuming that he makes the roster. That a depth piece that I'm never going to be mad, like we talked about it last week. I'm never going to be mad about adding depth on the defensive line, especially at edge. And he may not contribute a ton in the pass rush, but I mean, obviously, hopefully we're going to take somebody or somebody's in the draft that'll help us do that. But any thoughts on James, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as I think I called him like the definition of a solid rotational guy, right? Like he's not a great pass rusher, he's not a great run defender, he's durable, he's reliable. Again, he's got that connection. Kyle Smith would have been involved in drafting him. Mm-hmm. So, you're dropping him into a situation where right now you definitely don't have enough guys that you feel good about to cover all the snaps you need to fill up, and hopefully they're going to draft somebody and help with that. But this is a guy who will probably get 20 snaps a game, chip in on special teams, and be a perfectly fine player, and you're paying him absolutely nothing for that comparatively. So, yeah, I know it's not a needle mover. It's not something we're going to get excited about, but you never go wrong adding solid reserves. You just don't.
You can never have enough stocks.
Nope.
You can never have enough stocks. So that's all it is. It's just new players. It's just a good option. That's all it is.
Yeah.
No, it's like pitchers in the Major League Baseball. You can never have enough pitchers. I mean, like it's the same. These guys are so important to the team, because we've seen before when we've had a thin line what that looks like. Yep. It's not a pretty thing. I mean, we can't get off the field ever. So I mean, it's Bud Dupree's still out there. I don't know. I mean, I haven't. Have you heard anything? Is there? I mean, any whispers that any chance? I mean.
No, I was trying to figure that out the other day. I think probably the Smith-Williams signing decreases the chances that he's coming back. I'd be happy to see him come back. I think he's a solid player. Had a good year for us last year, but at this point, not expecting it unless it's like post-draft and they kind of whiff again on somebody they might want, which, to be fair, I know Terry's been chasing those pass rushers and it hasn't worked out. So there might still be some room for Bud Dupree.
Yeah, and Calais, I guess.
This is the cool part. Is like even 20 snaps keeps the greater players fresh.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's still kind of useful.
It is, and like when you get a guy like Smith Williams, who, as far as I'm aware, no major injury history, right? Like you're going to get those 20 snaps, and it's a big deal.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
And I mean, nobody's still heard from Calais other than the fact that
come on, Calais, please.
They'd welcome him back, but it seems. I mean, from his perspective, like last year, I think he thought we all thought going into the season, he probably wouldn't play as many snaps as he ended up playing, and obviously that was, Grady going down. It kind of affected that because he moved some inside and also went outside, but. I think truly, barring knock on wood, any crazy injuries this year, he could come back and legitimately play not as many snaps as, like kind of what the plan was last year. Keep Calais fresher, and have some young guys help mentor, like all that stuff that he did last year with Zach Harrison, he could maybe do again this year. That's the hope at least. But I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't blame him if he wants to wait, and not take in OTAs.
Skip training camp, buddy. Skip training camp.
I mean, we
just need you back, man. He had a blast on the field too, so I expect him to be back. I just think he got a mullet over. He want to skip training. Yeah, I expect him to be back. Chris, what up?
Oh, yeah, man. Chris, what's going on, buddy? Let's see. Hopefully, so I heard there not cap hits or no. Yeah, it's really it's really no risk.
Buddy.
Yeah, it's just high. If they pan out, great. If they don't, then it's not really that big a deal. So
what's up, buddy?
Good to see you, man. See. Hopefully, ask him how his curveball is. And he said, "Very good. I even fool my dad when I'm throwing." He does. If he doesn't tell me,
I'm throwing it, Johnny Yates. Come on, man.
It just happened a few times. I mean,
I
just caught me off guard, man.
Yeah.
But all right. So, getting into free agency, Dave. We didn't talk obviously before that happened. So, were you happy with Kirk? Is that who you wanted, or like what was your?
We all dying to hear this, Dave. We will quote you. We will quote you and clip this and post it on off left. A quote from Choate. How do you feel about the Kirk Cousins thing?
Yeah,
the font's going to depend on the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do like the Doom font. If I'm like, no, it's not.
I might put some horror music behind it, like
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I'm good with that. Monster Mash, maybe.
Perfect.
I like the signing. I was hoping for a rookie, and like maybe that still happens. That's something that I have a level of investment in for this team, even if I know it seems a little ridiculous at this point with Cousins. But for a short-term option for what Zach Robinson wants in his quarterback, for this cast of playmakers that is dying to have somebody throw them the football where it is supposed to go. Like, that's all basic stuff, but Kirk Cousins is really good at it. Like it's really funny to me that we did like the big Matt Ryan circle where it was like, we got to get rid of 36-year-old Matt Ryan.
Yep.
Here's 36-year-old Kirk Cousins. But, irony aside, you're basically paying him for 2 years. You can make that third year work. You can get out from it. It's a little painful if you have to. So I think, as a short-term move to get this team back to contention, to take advantage of a window, the time that you have Robinson here before potentially he's out for another job, it's a really good signing. Am I going to be happy a couple of years from now if they don't have a long-term option and Kirk is breaking down? No, but we can worry about that, I guess, in a month, in a year, whatever it may be. So I do like the signing.
Question, Dave. So we have Kirk, and you say you want a young guy, which is the same thing I want. If you had to take in like the later rounds, if there was a guy who you knew was still going to be there in the second, third, fourth, or whatever, who would you take for like a project to sit behind Kirk to see if he would pan out? Who would still be available?
Yeah, and I'm going to say Penix, but that's with the caveat that I don't know if he's going to be available in the second round.
Okay.
I definitely don't think he'll be available in the third. I think if you're talking waiting later than that, I'd take the shot on Spencer Rattler. I think he's an interesting player, a little bit erratic, but you can smooth some of that out hopefully with time. But to me, if you're gonna run this offense the way that Zach Robinson wants it run, you're gonna try, if he does move on, to have a protege take over who's going to run a similar offense. The guy that you want is Penix. Like I see the arm, I see the smarts, I see the ability. I know he's a little bit older. I know he's got the injury history, but like in terms of the continuity there, he's the guy that I think, with a couple of years in the system, could be really good in it. So he's the guy that, again, if you want to take one as early as the second round and he happens to be there, I would take him. Otherwise, I think, the interest in Rattler's probably real, and he's probably the guy a little bit later on.
So here's the question, Dave, that's going to get you unfollowed by multiple people, okay? Would you take Penix at 8?
No. Absolutely.
He said he didn't even think about that. I was shocked that you said no.
No.
No. You got to add, I view this as a prime opportunity to add an impact defender. Or to trade down a little bit and do it. To me, you'd have to go a long way down from 8 for me to be comfortable with Penix at that point. And I know it's kind of silly to say like, oh, you'd take him in the second, or you'd even trade back up to the end of the first, which I've said I'd do. But you won't take him at 8. Well, to me, again, it's an opportunity cost. It's the player you're passing up to take Penix, knowing that Penix probably doesn't help you until a year, 2, 3 years from now. So.
You think that,
and he keeps his followers smooth, Dave, smooth.
I don't know. Somebody's unfollowing me right now. They're angry.
Dude, we can't even get we were trying to get to 2000 on Twitter, and it's like it was like 1995 back to 1984, 1986, 99. I was like I don't understand, but it's fine. But yeah, now if they did that, do you think that makes Kirk like kind of raise an eyebrow, like what the hell if they take Penix in the second round, or like, how do you think that might make him feel?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would hope, that Kirk is aware of where he is in his career. He's aware of the situation, and he's also confident enough that he's a good enough player to keep Penix on the bench for 3 years. And maybe that's not ideal from a team building perspective because you've only got one cheap year with Penix, but if I'm Cousins, I don't view that as a short-term threat. I view that as a guy who's gonna learn from you, who is in no danger of taking over for you, and it's reasonable insurance for a 36-year-old guy coming off a major injury, the first one of his career. So, I don't know Kirk Cousins well enough. Maybe he seethes. Maybe this becomes a huge problem. Maybe he gets into like the Aaron Rodgers conspiracy theories. We've been way off course here, but I'm assuming. Yeah, I'm assuming he's mature enough not to do that. So it might bug him a little bit, but hopefully just fans the flames, or he takes it in stride.
That would be a storyline nobody would see coming if Kirk goes off the deep end and goes toward Aaron Rodgers' way of thinking. That's for sure. Well, I mean, looking at kind of like, I guess, expectations, or what your expectations like currently as we're constructing. Obviously, we're going to add in the draft. We're going to talk about the draft in a few minutes, but. What are your expectations going into this year? Like South, pretty much like, yes, win the South. It has to be it. Or like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I think you've got to be there for the South, right? They've announced that they want to. I know it's a priority for Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. Fontenot wants to show that the roster he's built is good enough to do this after the last couple of years. Morris is not kicking around thinking I can wait a couple of years after waiting that long to get back into the head coaching ranks. And nobody on this roster wants to suffer through another underachieving year. So to me, yes, you got to be in contention to win the South. Hopefully you're going to win the South. I think that's the expectation. And I still look at the rest of this division and I don't see, a credible threat outside of maybe Tampa Bay.
Talk it, Dave.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, though, like, look, I know the Panthers have had a good offseason. It would take a huge step forward from that coaching staff, from Bryce Young, to really turn that into anything. The Saints are old and terrible and expensive, and then Bucks are Baker Mayfield or bust, So it won't be that smooth. It won't be that easy, but they should win the South. They should have won the South a year ago.
Yep.
I think they'll win the South this year. Assuming.
So I got a question, Dave. Are you inside of your Falcon mind or are you out of your Falcon mind? Like, what's the ceiling? I need to know the ceiling. Like, if everything go right, what's the ceiling?
We going to the Super Bowl, mother.
That's what I'm gonna say. Super Bowl, undefeated. Come on, Dave. Like the ceiling is what?
Anything
if
is
it all goes right,
Christ.
if it gels perfectly, what are you saying?
Yeah, I think the best case scenario this year is like a 13-4 season. I think if everything breaks right, best season since a long time ago. Yeah, no.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you got to build the defense out a little bit more, but I don't see any reason why, if you do that and Kirk Cousins is healthy, this can't be that, that 11-13 win season. Finally, I do think it's there.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I don't know how he like writes, because if you speak to somebody who writes, it's always like they like gotta stay here. He's out of his Falcon mind, but he still gotta write. So he gotta dull it down in order to be able to write an article. Because he can't just say we going to the Super Bowl in every article. So I admire that, Dave.
I mean, they have a good year this year, though. I might start writing it. We'll see.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, and you look at the Bucks too. It's like, Dave Canales just, their offensive coordinator left to go to the Panthers. So we don't know how that's going to be for that new offense, I guess, basically in Tampa Bay. So how that's going to work too. I mean, they did obviously re-sign Baker and Evans came back, which sucks. But they're a year older. That defense is a year older. I mean, Devin White's gone.
Yep.
So, I mean, those linebackers are getting split up. So I mean, it's that helps. I'm just never going to be upset about that. The other signings, how do you? I mean, Rondell Moore and Darnell Mooney. Like, how were you feeling about those guys?
Yeah, it's that's such a weird trade, right? Like, you hear Desmond Ritter's getting traded, you're like, all right, well, third day pick, and then it's Rondale Moore. But I like it. I think Moore is he's an intriguing guy. You can use him in a bunch of different ways. That speed plays extremely well, and I think Mooney is an underrated acquisition. And I think that even though he's gotten plenty of hype, right? Like, this is a guy that he needed a player like Kirk Cousins. Just the accuracy with the deep balls was something that, Fields, it came and went a little bit, and Mooney was kind of phased out of the offense a little bit. When things were clicking with Fields, he had some great times. And last year wasn't one of those. Looking for the change of scenery, lands in Atlanta, surrounded by playmakers again with that game-changing speed. Like, that's a really good signing to me. And again, the way it's structured, you're here for Kirk Cousins' window, and that third year is kind of optional. So it depends on how things are going.
Yeah, a lot of people were upset about that contract, and that's what I was telling them. I was like, it's not that. I mean, he got maybe a little bit higher than you thought, but it's not like we're not in it for 3. And if we are, then that means things are going really well, and and that's okay. I mean, we're cool with it. So yeah, I agree with you. And then, it sucked to see CP go to the Steelers, which was hilarious, kind of that they went to the Steelers. Well, I hate to see him leave. But, getting, McLeod coming in, kind of like maybe that version, very good kick returner, good punt returner. So, maybe that's kind of our younger version, I guess, of him. And Moore does similar things too, like you were saying. I mean, he can line up in the backfield, he can line up outside, inside. Didn't really live up to kind of that second round billing he had, coming in, into Arizona. But again, they've had some ups and downs with that offense out there with Kyler and Kyler getting hurt. So, you don't really know kind of what I don't know if you've seen the best of what he can do, with a good quarterback. So yeah, I agree with you. What's your favorite outside of Kirk favorite signing? Is it the Mooney signing?
Definitely Charlie Warner, right? Like, just big time Charlie Warner. That's my boy.
Big time Charlie Warner.
Yeah. It's definitely the Mooney signing, though. Like, I just think what we've seen, even over the last 3 years, where it was not really a huge emphasis, like, the Damier Birds, the Scotty Millers, like, the speed plays really well, even when it's inconsistently used, and certainly when the accuracy comes and goes. So for somebody like Cousins to stump for Mooney to come here, Mooney being excited to come here, the offense being built to feature that speed, like, I'm really excited to see what he can do.
So I got a great question for you, Dave. Who do you think, who's already on the team, who's like a young guy, who's going to have the greatest jump from last year to this year? Like, who you think is just going to take off?
Yeah, I think it'll probably be. I kind of go back and forth between Pitts and London, but I think it's ultimately going to be London because he's already consistently shown he's that caliber of player. And I think he's been hurt a lot by that quarterback play. So you take somebody like Mooney as a credible threat opposite him, which he hasn't really had the last couple of years. And you take, hopefully that third-year leap from him. And he's a guy I can see like really blossoming this year. And the floor is already pretty high for him. So I'm expecting huge things for London.
I love it.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, and what that speed, like you said, can do for him opening up stuff that he wasn't used to. I mean, we had speed in Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson. It just wasn't ever used. And when they were open, they didn't get the ball. So it's kind of just, it was like banging your head against the wall. And we got to mention too, Kyle Pitts, that he was basically awarded the Ed Block Courage Award, which is essentially the award given to a player on each team who is viewed as role models of inspiration, sportsmanship, and courage. So, like we said before, man, like Kyle was going through some extra stuff last year with his knee that nobody really knew, nobody really let on. Dave, when I was watching the 22s and doing the breakdowns for the show, it was like obvious. I mean, it was like, man, he either does not give a shit anymore or like his knee is still really messed up. It was one of those things because he just did not look the same. I mean, he was coming out of cuts so just not explosive, just really kind of slow. And I was like, man, what the hell? But yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it before, but you come down and said, he also had a PCL, which is a much bigger deal than like an MCL. So, I mean, like if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, he was definitely hurting. And, I guess it kind of even, I guess you could question, why was he even out there as much as he was last year? But I think he's in for a huge season. And like just the fact that his teammates awarded him that says a lot. This pretty much says all you need to know, like how hard he probably worked behind the scenes. Nobody ever said anything. And Arthur was extremely cryptic or just not forthcoming with any information anyway when it came to that kind of stuff. So it was like he didn't really know what was going on regardless, and he, of course, Kyle didn't say anything. He didn't make any excuses for it, and he waited till after the season and said it. So, good for him.
Yeah, and at that age too, like, getting that kind of award, being through the ups and downs in your career, really having your potential, your effort questioned and kind of powering through that, like it says a lot about him. He's a guy who has always seemed mature for his age, especially being in the situation he's in. So, I kind of pick London as the breakout guy, but I am expecting big things from Pitt, and I'm hoping for big things from Pitt. I think he deserves that kind of year.
Yeah.
You a decoy, and man, that because you hurt, and like the coach understand that because you hurt, but everyone else is dragging you
all the time.
Everyone else is dragging you, and you understand, the coach understand, but no one else is like, he fell off. He might not be all that like we thought he was. So shout out to him for staying humble and staying put. And I expect him to, man, when he get healthy, we haven't seen what Kyle Pitts can do yet. So it's going to be amazing to see. We have not even seen a quarter of what the man is capable of. So that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we got a glimpse in year one with Matt, and that was it.
You said that with who, John?
With Matt. That guy, Matt, Yeah.
Number two.
Dude. Yeah. Number two. Yeah. Marlon.
That's what I said. I got to get me one of those, Johnny Yates. I love that, man.
They put one more on the board now. It's 5, but he commented on that earlier. But yeah.
Are they 5-0, John?
It's up. They're up 5-0 right now. Yeah.
Okay.
They're 6-3 on the season. But yeah.
Okay.
All right. So getting into the draft, and since the great quarterback, whatever you want to call it, civil war amongst the fan base is now pretty much over with, and they've whether you wanted Kirk or didn't want Kirk, Kirk's our quarterback now, so that's kind of subsided. So now the great debate is who is the right edge to take at 8, or do we trade back, and take another, so. And Berto's asking Dave, who is your preference at edge, and are you taking an edge at 8 on top of that, or do you want to trade back?
Yeah, if you could trade back a couple picks and still get your guy, sure, I'd do that. But, as a guy who for 10 straight years, I think in the SB Nation mock draft picked an edge, just hoping, praying. Yeah, I'm picking one for sure. And my guy actually is Jared Verse. And it has been since last year when I was hoping he would come out and the Falcons would get him. I don't, I think it's one of those cases where like sometimes you have these debates and it's really obvious. Like one guy is so much better than the other, but the lesser guy's got, fans and stands and everybody's fighting over nothing essentially. Like this is a fair debate, right? Like I don't see Verse come up as often as Turner or Latu, but to me, like he's got that ideal like combination of traits, right? Like he's just a really good all-around player. You kind of expect him to be really good from day one. Maybe he doesn't have quite the upside, that the other two have if everything breaks right. But like if you have to bring in a guy that you think is going to be really good right off the bat and do a little bit of everything you need him to do, that to me is Verse. And that's the guy that I would prefer. Am I going to be upset if they end up with Dallas Turner or Latu? No, absolutely not. Like all three guys, potential to be really good pass rushers, and the Falcons desperately need a really good pass rusher. So you're not going to hear me complain if they end up with one of those three guys or even a corner, which I think is a possibility too. But me personally, I'm taking Verse.
Yeah, I mean I did see that Terrion Arnold was visiting. Corner out of Alabama was visiting, so I mean, and he will be a first rounder, so that's like you said, that corner is a possibility. Like you, I think we've all been wanting edge, or like last year, like we were, Jalen Carter was kind of the hope, and then like, just never. Anytime you think that they're going to, I don't think I've ever got it right. Like the first round pick, I don't think I've ever got right. I mean, I've gotten later round picks right, but never the first round pick. And it's like they always just seem to blow. I like in 16 or 17. Was Keanu O'Neal blew. I hadn't. I no way in hell I expected Keanu O'Neal to be the pick at that. And good safety, but it's not at all what I was thinking was going to happen. So yeah, I mean, and I see everybody going back and forth and about it, and there's some that are just like feet in the sand. This is my guy, but the other two guys are not going to work, and that's not how I see it either. I agree with you. Like I'm not going to be upset if it's either any three of those guys, because they all have good traits. They all have their things they have to work on. And my guy's been Turner for a while, and it's not just because it's Alabama, Mike. But it's like, but he yeah, I mean, top tier athleticism at every category. And I've said before, the only thing that worries me really, I mean, honestly, is his size, because like I would love to see him put on 10 pounds and get to 260. If you tell me he's 6'3", 260. And I know that's going to maybe cut into his speed a little bit more, but still, like, I've seen the guy progress watching him every game, Alabama. But I do think that Verse and Latu probably offers you a quicker return on investment. Like if I think those guys are both ready to step in, and nothing else, because of their size, because of the traits that they have, that power, and Latu with his hands and stuff like that. Like that's stuff that, Turner can develop more into. He's got a hell of we've talked about on the show before. His arms are forever long. He can one-arm guys. He's not just a one-trick pony. He's, like I've said before, he's not Vic Beasley. They are different guys. Like he can rush the passer a lot differently than what he did. So it's like, I'm totally cool either way. But like, if I had the choice, it's like you tell me Turner is there at 8, but Verse and Latu's still out there, and I was listening to Kevin Knight on the Dirty Birds and Brews podcast. And it was a good show talking about like basically the chances of us trading back and who might want to be teams that could trade back or could be interested. And basically the Broncos were one, the Jets were one, and what was the third one? Do you remember what the third one was, Dave? Maybe Minnesota, I think was it?
Yeah, I think Minnesota. Yeah, hoping to pick up those 2 first round picks. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So those are legit possibilities that those teams want to move up, and we don't know how the first 7 is going to fall, obviously, but like that's a possibility. And honestly, if Turner's there and those other guys, like, yeah, I'm okay. Get the extra pick, move back, take Verse, take Latu, and they're going to. I'm going to shed a tear just because Turner was my guy. Like I'm totally fine with it. And
we also desperately need. This is unrelated, but we desperately need one of these guys to get drafted and work out, because
yes,
the comparisons to Beasley and Tack for every single player the Falcons consider drafting, like, man, that has to stop. We got to get somebody successful to point to. Like, I can't do it. I can't see, the Vic comparisons for another guy who's like 270 pounds. I can't do that.
No, man. And I get everybody's kind of like gun shy about it because we haven't had success drafting him in forever. But it is a different regime. It's a different coaching staff, like all that stuff, goes into play. But it's like quarterbacks, man. Like you don't know until they're on the field and they're like you just have to, bet on those high end traits and hope to God they work out, But I would. To me, it's either edge or corner. I mean, I know receiver's been talked about, but honestly, I cannot see them going receiver at 8. I mean, they could, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, I mean, you agree with that, Dave? You think corner probably the second option there?
I think so. I can see the appeal of wide receiver. Like, I definitely can. This is a killer class, but I do think you can get somebody later. And I do think that, the way that they have gone through this offseason suggests they are not expecting to draft one at 8. So it would surprise me for sure.
Yeah, I hear you. Marlon said Joe Milton was a later round quarterback. Yeah, he has a cannon. I mean, he's definitely he's probably, and I've said it before, he's probably a bigger project than anybody else in the draft, just because rocket arm, but everything else he's got to get better at. But I mean, if you want to take a longer shot on that, hey, that's fine. Hey, appreciate it. So hit that like button, y'all. So I mean, Todd just looking at it says, so glad Washington lost that final. Now his stock is slipping, talking about Penix. If they won it, I know everyone would be hyping him up. That's true. And now he can follow. I mean, the fact he didn't have a great game definitely didn't help him at all. Because, if he had won that game, you're talking about him probably going in the top 10 at this point. But the fact that, he didn't look that great, and they still have the injury concerns a little bit, I guess. Some teams might, he could fall, I mean, so it takes us to the second round. I mean, like if we do go edge and the second, so this is what happened in our mock draft. So let me see if I can find our mock draft. Oh, well, I got it on my phone. So we went edge. We went ahead and just took Turner at 8. He was there. We took him. We didn't have any really good options to trade back. So we were just like, all right, we'll just take him. But we got to the second round and our hope was to take corner there. But all the good corners, like the really good corners we wanted, were kind of gone. So it was kind of like, okay, so now what do we do? And it was, do we take a really good wide receiver, which we also have we still have a need there at wide receiver, so we ended up taking Xavier Leggett from a sucker, which is again athletic freak, fast, big guy, been compared to DK Metcalf by some people, like okay, and we got kind of dragged by a few people like not going, like, why would you not go defense in the second? Well, I mean, I'm not going to reach for a corner that, just because we need it, I'm not going to reach for a guy that you may be able to get equally comparison, in the third, you know what I'm saying? So like we went ahead and took him. We ended up taking, and we didn't take a corner until the 5th round when we had Kyrie Jackson. 4th round, I'm sorry, Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon. That was when we finally had a good, we could, so basically we went 1st round Dallas Turner, Xavier Leggett, 2nd pick, Brandon Dorless, another edge out of Oregon who can play anywhere from the 2 to the 7 technique. I mean, big guy too, 280 pounds. And then Dwayne Carter out of Duke, big defensive tackle. And we took him at the 79th pick. So we didn't really, like I said, we didn't find a good corner till that 4th round, which, I mean, could be a possibility. That could actually fall that way. If a run on corner start, it could go. And I don't want Terry or anybody to take a reach of the guy if they're not all in. I'd rather take that high end wide receiver at the 2nd round. But what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a ton of sense, and it also the way that they've approached corner, like they want to add young talent. I have no doubt they'll draft somebody, but they're pretty well covered. Like Antonio Hamilton was a solid starter for 9 games last year for Arizona. He did pretty well against the Falcons. You've got King as a flyer, and you've got Clark Phillips and D. Alford, who I think are both good players. I really like Clark Phillips.
Me too.
He'll win a starting job if he's given a fair shake at it. So to me, you don't have to go out and draft that guy, in the 2nd round. You don't have to push for it. And, you guys are living the spirit of Terry Fontenot by not being, reaching for a need, right? Like,
yeah.
Terry Fontenot does not want to have to be, nobody puts Terry in the corner, right? Like you're not going to do that to the guy. So.
Yeah. He said, we going to the show. Double H there, we going to the show. Hit that like button, y'all.
Matt down. What's
Matt
up?
down.
Good to see you, man. Yeah, I mean, and this to me, like, it needs to be a defensively heavy draft. Like, I mean, I definitely want to see a receiver in there. If they wanted to get a quarterback, we didn't end up taking a quarterback in our draft. We just, I mean, we Jordan Travis kept falling, he kept falling, and we're like, you know what, undrafted free agent.
We tried to, John. Remember we tried it.
Yeah, we tried to. There was a couple of guys. We almost took Milton, and he got drafted. I think he got drafted by the Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots got
maybe the 6th or 7th round. And so we were like, you know what, we'll get an undrafted free agent, which is something they could possibly do as well. Like one like Jordan Travis could be legit one of those guys because of the injury. He just falls completely out of the draft, and somebody picks him up afterwards, and that could be what we do as well. Because there's not an immediate need for a QB. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, so I wouldn't be upset if they took a late flyer on a QB. But my hope is trade back, pick up an extra day 2 pick, still get your edge rusher that you want, and just keep stocking those guys, man, on the defensive side of the ball. Because and we haven't talked. And safety, to me, safety's not really strong in this draft this year. But I do think that Richie needs some competition there, like or just flat out be replaced. And I don't know that DeMarco's the guy yet. I would love it to be, but I don't know that he's there yet. But Dave, what do you see them doing at safety? Richie's spot.
I mean, if you look at free agency right now, like there's a lot of guys out there. Like there are guys that I would feel comfortable starting, still readily available. This is one of those things where, like, everybody was saying Bates last year, like, oh, the safety market seems like every year it's a little bit flooded. So to me, like, that's where you go, free agency, right? And maybe at this point, you can wait until after the draft to see where you're at, just because there doesn't seem to be a ton of movement on that front. But that's where I would look. I would look for a veteran guy to bring in to push, Grant and Helms, and then really set yourself up to have a good group of 4 safeties. Because, if you bring in a guy who's a starter and Helms and Grant are your backups, like, that's great. Grant's a really good special teamers. Helms is a great special teamer. And both of those guys can start, and if you're somebody like Raheem Morris, like Jimmy Lake, and you feel good about your ability to develop, you've got a couple of young guys that maybe just need a little bit of time to do so. So I can't see them drafting one. Maybe I'm wrong, but to your point, it's not a great draft for it. Free agency's full of options. Like, wait until early May and go get your guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. And do you see them out? I mean, they're going to have to, I would imagine, restructure some contracts, whether it's, Jake or Lindstrom or whoever. I mean, like, I would assume a couple of those are going to happen, right? To sign these guys.
At least one, yeah.
At least one, yeah.
Yeah, because I think you're just going to run out of money for the draft class pretty soon at the rate they're going. So I don't know whose deal they're going to touch. I'll be interested to see because, with Matthews, like, do you keep betting on, just like that solid, durable play? Or are you a little bit concerned that at some point that starts to fall off? Because so you don't want to touch that deal.
Right. True. And then what JD says here, drafting a QB or O-lineman is the same for me. I don't see the point if they're, like, most likely going to sit. And O-line is also, I mean, like, we did pick up an O-line. We picked up a tackle, I think, in the 5th or 6th round, just because,
we need that.
Yeah, well, Jake's not getting any younger, and we know, and Dave. One of my only concerns, really, is McGarry. I mean, like, that's, Kirk's not. If you don't want Kirk running anyway, because you don't want him to do anything to mess up Achilles up again. But, like, we've seen what McGarry can do against the speed rush. It's not great. He got better last year. I'll give him that. He did improve. But I could see a world where they do, if not this year, next year, draft a elite or top offensive tackle, maybe move Jake to the right, back to where he played college ball. And I know that's still going to be a change for him. I mean, I don't know if it was him or somebody had said, like, if for a tackle, if going from left to right is like just I can't remember who said it, but basically said, like, imagine wiping your butt with a different hand, and, like, that's how awkward it is. So I mean, if that's the case, that could be kind of damn awkward, if you're trying to adjust to a new position. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely those 2 guys. I think you're going to have to address it in the next couple of years if it's not this year. But I don't think it's if they see a window this year, next year, I don't think you got to do it right now. But who knows? We'll see. Yeah, Liam said Shaq Barrett's gone as well. Yeah, I mean, from that that Bucks team. Yeah, for sure. All right, new kickoff rule, man. So we did talk about what it was in the previous show. And if y'all don't know, they're going to what the UFL, I guess, is now, or XFL. Basically, the kickoff's going to be done from the 35. You're going to have the receiving team lined up. What was it, 10 yards from the kicking team, right? Dave, and then where it is 10 yards, yes. So on the opposite side of the field, the ball has to be kicked into the landing zone, which is between the 20-yard line and the back of the end zone. If it's you can still like do a touchback. If it rolls into the end zone and they do a touchback, it comes out to the 20. If it's kicked into the end zone and they do a touchback, it comes out to the 30. If the ball is kicked out of bounds or doesn't make it inside the landing zone, then the ball comes out to the 40, which is huge for the offenses, obviously. So clearly they're trying to get the kickoff back, which I'm glad, because the kickoff was basically non-existent these last few years since they moved it up. And it's like I forget who was on the show. It's like, yeah, normally I'll just go to the bathroom. I think it might have been Aaron Freeman. Like, I'll just go to the bathroom whenever they're here. Because I mean, nothing's going to happen. So it's going to make guys like CP and hopefully our guys, if Avery Williams comes back and we've got him and Barry McLeod back there, possibly that might be a legitimate thing. It's going to be fascinating to me though to see how special teams coaches are going to how this is going to evolve over the season, because this is totally new for them. How they're going to set up these blocks, who they're going to have out there doing, it's just going to be wild to see. But Dave, were you happy with the change?
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by it. And I think the Falcons, of course, everybody's like, my team is well positioned for this, but I do think the Falcons are, right. Like, they do have Williams, who I think is a really good returner, obviously more dangerous maybe on punts than kickoffs, but you added McLeod. I think you've got a couple of options for kickoffs between Koo and Pinion. They both handled it. It's a question of which one you want. I very much trust them to stock special teams effectively, to have the right guys to take advantage of this. And it is a work in progress, but coming out of this with a couple of really good returners, assuming that Williams is healthy, a couple of good kickoff options, like you're in pretty good shape, and anything is better than watching Mike Hughes.
Oh my God, dude!
Try to return. And God love Mike Hughes, but like that last year, kickoffs weren't just like an afterthought. They were, I'd better stay and watch this in case something really terrible happens, exactly. And that's just not ideal. So I think it's, NFL's all over the place in terms of like player safety and like the value of rule changes, but this seems to be a good one for multiple reasons. Yeah.
And Mike, we didn't talk about it too much. Are you excited to see it?
No.
You don't
take it out, man. Take it out and start at the 15. I say you just take it out and start at the 15. It's just a wasted thing at this point. I
want to see it. I want to see this change. I want to see how this works out, because this could be like at least exciting. Like it's and it should decrease the injuries, because they're not running full speed into each other. I mean, we'll see about the returner if if he's going full speed into somebody 20 yards down the field. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how it, man. Mike, what's up, buddy? He said, Mike, thoughts on the Falcons linebacking core? If healthy, I personally believe they can have major impact on the defense. Yeah, Dave, thoughts on the linebackers?
Yeah, I mean, Ellis showed well last year. You've got Landman. That's really, really good depth. Obviously, you need a fourth guy, but Anderson is the wild card, right?
That's
like, if
my
he
man.
can be healthy, live up to his potential, that's a special player, right?
Yeah.
Just we don't know. But if he is healthy, this is a good group at minimum. Like, the floor is fairly high, and the ceiling could be a lot higher if he can really live up to what he's expected to be. So I think the fact that they haven't really touched that yet probably won't worry about it until day 3 of the draft or after the draft tells you how they feel about it. New coaching staff knows what they have, though, or knows what they hope they have with Anderson.
It's wild. It's what's wild how the linebacking, we talked about it last week, how the linebacker position has changed so much over the years. I mean, like, the guys have to be basically like large, very ridiculous athletes to play linebacker now in the NFL. Like, you got to be able to cover, you got to be able to rush passer, you got to be able to tackle well, like all those things. Like, it's becoming a very difficult position to find like really good dudes at, because you don't see that many just like stud linebackers across the league as you've seen, in the past. It's a lot of it too. So many teams are in nickel and dime all the time, so you're only seeing one or two out there anyway. It's mostly safety or a third safety or possibly an extra corner out there. But I do got to mention too. So Caden Ellis's little brother Jonah, you see his numbers that he put up?
Yeah.
Pretty solid, man. Worked out yesterday. Ended up being a 6'2", 243 pounds, 38-inch vertical, 10-foot bar jump, 4.17 shuttle, and a 6.69 three-cone, which anything under 7 for a three-cone is really damn impressive. And that typically, if y'all listen to Locked On with Aaron will tell you all the time, a three-cone is something that definitely translates typically to a good pass rusher, in the NFL. And I would take a shot at Mr. Jonah Ellis later on. Why not, man? And one Ellis worked out pretty well. If he could be another one later on in the draft, why not? But hopefully, we should load up on defense in the draft. Hopefully, getting tackles late, preferably pass blocking. Yeah, I mean that's exactly, man, exactly. Let's see, and do we double dip at any position this year? My thoughts, possibly wide receiver or corner. What you think, Dave?
Yeah, I could see corner. Even with the additions that we've seen to this point, I could also see them double dipping on the defensive interior, which isn't necessarily a huge need. You've got some bodies there, but you have to remember that both of the guys are going to be relying on to start, and Eddie Goldman, if he ends up sticking around, are on the wrong side of 30. And Jarrett's coming off a fairly significant injury. It's not going to slow him down. He's great at Jarrett. I love that man. But maybe you start thinking about bringing in a couple guys as insurance to get into the rotation, and if you like their upside, coach them up, bring them up, have one start down the line.
Tempo Slice says, for me, it's got to be Latu, just way more polished than both other guys. Varsity number 2 for me. Turner is just way too raw with technique and pass rush moves. I'm going to take in the top 10. Well, Mike,
a wild profile pic you have there, buddy. That's hilarious.
He said, I wish I could figure out why Turner is so raw with Anderson and Braswell are top tier technique under that same elite coaching staff. What was the issue for 3 years under the same coaching staff? He actually, like I said, he improved. First year, he kind of relied on speed a lot. And then the second year, you could see him start using his hands more. Third year, he was, like I said, using that. He'd use a long arm on guy. He would, I forgot what game it was, but he literally pushed a tackle with his left arm directly back into the quarterback and just drove him back. He's got some sneaky power in there. And that's to me, like those techniques, those traits can really be honed in with a really good coaching staff in the NFL. Like that's when you really, really, refine those techniques and build those techniques. So, like I said, I like him a lot, but again, my goal will be to trade back, man. If and Jojo Boy said, I think Turner is focused on using his athleticism, and that's what a lot of guys, like I said, even before. Not even involved in Turner, but just guys in college in general. A lot of times they can win just based on their athleticism or based on one move in the college game. But when you get to the pros, you can't just have one move. You're going to have tackles that can just disrupt that with easily. So you're going to have what's your secondary. Can you bull rush? Can you speed rush? Can you dip under? Like all those things come into play when you get to the NFL. So like you said though, any three I'm good with. Jay said, when it comes to speed and power, upside is Turner, about like Latu, though. Yeah. Does the injury thing at all worry you at all with Latu, or are you kind of like, yeah, he's good to go, he's cleared?
I kind of look at it as, obviously if you're coming in like I'm gonna pull a name deep out here. If you're coming in like a Marcus Lattimore, right, where your knees are just toast, and it coming into the NFL, like that's one thing, but if you're cleared, if it's not like every single year you got something going on, like I tend not to worry too much about it. You can only do the research you can do as a team and take some things on faith. And to me, that doesn't scare me enough to say no to Latu at all.
Yeah, I agree. And Berto said versus more rounded edge, but Latu offers what will be asked in this scheme: rush, run stopper, and drop into covers. And that's huge. Yeah. I mean, you got to be able, if you can't drop into covers now as an edge, then you offer a little bit less and can't be on the field for all 3 downs, So And then he agrees. I just like Verse, which that motor is really, Verse's motor and his power is stupid. I mean, when you watch it on film, it's really damn good. And he's like, I mean, like you said earlier in the show, Dave, like when you think of like an edge, like this kind of like body type, everything. That's just kind of what you think of. It's like that's what it is. And like you said last year, I mean, we were all kind of considering like, oh, that'd be a really good pick if he comes out, and chose to stay. And I think it was kind of rumored that the Falcons were interested in last year, So I mean, like that, man, maybe that has something, maybe that's something to say too. And Tim said, I'll say this for Verse, considering I'm an FSU fan. I love the dude as a player, but I feel he'll fit a 4-3 than a 3-4. To me, I say I like Latu more than Verse as an FSU fan. Hurts me. Yeah, I hear you, bro. Yeah. And I said the same thing. I thought Verse fits probably a 4-3 better, but again, if we're in a 3-4, one down per series, I mean, I don't know if it matters that much anymore. I mean, we're going to be in nickel so much that whatever. Yeah, exactly.
I look at that as kind of the same thing as when Terry says every year, and Dimitrov used to say before him, like, we could stay put, we could trade down, we could trade up. Like when teams talk about the front they're going to use, they're going to be in everything. It's going to be multiple.
Exactly. And it's don't sleep on Verse. He could stand up, and just dropping in, not dropping into coverage is his fault. Looking for someone to get after it. Yeah. But you got to, the way offenses are now, like they have to be able to have that part of their game. They can't just be a complete liability out there. I mean, you've seen, dude, we saw Calais in coverage last year, and that's not where you want to see Calais, but due to the offense that was out there, that's what happened. And it sucks, but that's what happens. Then Chris said we are drafting Penix 8 for my boy Berto. No, we're not. Don't even say that. I like him, but that's not gonna happen. I'm just going through the comments here, seeing if we have anything else before we get out of here. If we can get a nose tackle throughout. Yeah, there's definitely some good nose tackles throughout the draft for sure. And let's see. Wallace, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Wallace, what up?
So I think Goldman might actually play for Coach Rod. I think he might too. I think there's a decent chance. Like I was jokingly told Dave earlier, he spent 2 years getting he's kind of used to the humidity here. Maybe this will stay. But look, and Dempsey said last week on the show too. Jay Rogers, his old defensive line coach, is here now. So I mean, like maybe all that stuff comes into play. And his body should be in pretty decent shape, not having taken all these hits these last few years. So the question is when he starts taking those hits again. How's that going to feel for him? And is he going to still love it as much as he did or not? But we'll see. Jerome said, do y'all think it's smarter to draft Quinyon Mitchell just in case we decide to let AJ test free agency? That's only if he wants the top 5 CB money. Question. Dave, what you think, man? And what do you think? Do you think they're going to extend AJ?
I think they're going to extend AJ. And I'd still consider taking Mitchell, right? Like not so much for insurance is, if you think he can be a damn good player, which I do, then, you have 2 great corners. And if for some reason, you let Terrell walk, then hopefully you got your number 1 guy there. But otherwise you get 2 really good starting corners, and that's great. Like, I don't, even if you can't see, and that would be a case where the path to playing time is easy to see, but even if you can't see it right away, don't shy away from a potentially great player. Because you might have a situation like that where Terrell walks away, and if not, you'll find a way to use him.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Will McFadden on Believe in Falcons, and he brought up a good point too. He said, like it wouldn't be surprising if they view one of these corners as like an all-pro guy, as compared to like they see an edge as possibly like a Pro Bowl-ish, could be decent. They will be surprised that they took the corner because they see that type of guy in him, and just took maybe trade back up into the first to get another edge, or just take one of the lesser edges that are in the draft. And I mean, he's got a good point. That's that's a possibility. Definitely is. Let's see, and he said AJ's not going to want top. I don't think AJ will get top 5. I think he'll be in somewhere in that 17 to 18 range, though. I don't think this will be like 20, but I think he'll be in that range from looking at what other guys around that league has made, probably at his level. But and I agree. I think they're going to extend them too at some point. I don't think they're going to let them test free agency because then you got a bidding war, and it's just not going to be a good thing for anybody. But Mike, you got anything else for Dave, buddy, before we close it down?
You know I got some nonsense for Dave. Dave, I got one nonsense question for you, man. I know you up top, which has the best bread. I don't know if anybody know that, but up top, the bread tastes different. I gotta ask you. I'm gonna name some few. If you had to eat one form of bread for the rest, if you could only pick one, would you pick garlic bread? Would you pick an everything bagel? Would you pick a croissant, raisin bread, wheat bread, white bread, and English muffin or cornbread? You can only pick one for the rest of your life. Which one you going with?
Man,
I gotta go with either white or wheat bread. I gotta think about that. It's the utility, right? Like garlic bread is the greatest, but I'm
man,
like spreading. I'm not putting peanut butter and jam on some garlic bread, man. I got limits, so you got to go with the classics. I miss garlic bread a lot, but I'd probably take white bread. You know, like
white bread.
That's your utility guy. Does everything.
Man, what you doing, John?
Yeah, I probably agree with him on that because I love garlic bread's gonna get old for a while. You're gonna start getting some indigestion after a little bit.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's gotta be probably white that you can get some mobility out of. Yeah, because you want to have some PBJs and some all kinds of stuff. In there, yeah.
You said you got to do utility. I just had to ask.
Yeah, Timbo said I'm all on board. Trade back if possible. How about we double dip and get both Turner at 8, trade back and get Latu at 25. I don't think Latu will be there at 25. If he is, then that would be interesting. But I don't see him dropping that far. It'd be cool if he did, and that's something that that'd be. I think Mike. I think you asked him like if last week if you would. I think you asked if it was Verse or and Latu. Would you take those two over Dallas? I'm like, well, yeah, hell yeah, of course, no doubt about it. Lisa, she's going cornbread on that one, Mike.
She's going cornbread. Cornbread, man. You gonna be big as a house. You only eat cornbread. So I got one more for you, Dave. It pains me to even ask because I'm scared of your answer. But is Matt Ryan capable of being a backup in the NFL, or is Matt Ryan he need to go home and spend time with his wife or stay up in that booth? Or is he capable if he were called on to be a backup somewhere?
Yeah. So let's take that as a two-part question, right? So is he capable? Yes.
Okay.
As a backup in the NFL, yes, of course. He's scheme dependent, but like for the wealth of expertise that he brings, still the level of talent. Yes, he can be a backup quarterback in this league.
Okay.
The second part of the question is, can you do that? Not doing that.
You say he wouldn't do. What was the second part?
I would say he's not going to come back.
No, he's not going to do it.
No way. Yeah.
Yeah. Quarterback coach. Matty Ice, come on, man.
I had to get some magical music going in there.
I think, yeah. I think he's great in the booth.
He's happy doing it.
I do too.
It's been really fun to watch him there. But to me, like, he could still do it. But I bet you now that he's up in that booth and he's living that life, he's probably done. Yeah.
Good answer, Dave.
Yeah,
he didn't break my heart. He let me down easy. I love it.
Oh man, Timbo said great work, fellas, and thanks for replying. Some of my posts that was dope. Can't say I've had other people do that in these videos. Definitely going to subscribe from me. We appreciate you, but hey, man,
thank you, Timbo.
You guys are the reason. You guys are the reason that we do this, man. And so yeah, we love it. Anytime y'all want to contribute to the conversation, man, we love it. And I can't always get every comment on the show, obviously, because we can't be here all night, but I try to get to whatever we can. And he said, if Noodle Arm quitter Mariota can be a backup, Ryan for sure can.
There you go. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Timbo.
Absolutely. And by the way, Mariota's wearing 0 this year in Washington, which is hilarious.
That's perfect.
So, but yeah.
You know what? He should be the only player in the history of the league who got like a -1 before on his jersey. It should say -1. That's what should be his jersey number. But 0, I'll take 0.
Hilarious. All right, man. Well, we're gonna get out of here, man.
Thank you so much, Dave, again, man. Thank you, buddy. Always.
Yeah. Always a great time. I always look forward to those questions at the end too.
Always.
It's always off the cuff.
Well, we will get the next one. The next one we'll try to do. Obviously we'll have we'll play one of the games. When we have less to talk about, which maybe after the draft, something like that, we'll get you back on. But let the folks know where they can find you and like I said, what's coming down the pike at the Falcoholic.
Yeah, at the Falcoholic on Twitter and all the other Twitter-like platforms if eventually that goes under. And at the site, I think we're, gearing up for the draft. I think it's going to be a lot of prospect profiles, mock drafts, team needs, etc. Until we finally get there, we got something really good to talk about. I'm looking forward to it.
100%, man. Yeah, I can't wait because, like I said before the show, it's finding the content to talk about now. So you're just kind of rehashing stuff and like just praying that they make a move or two you can talk about like during the week, so you can have a good show. But it gives us time to play stupid games and be silly and have fun with it. So we don't hate it all that much. But yeah, man. So all right, guys, we appreciate y'all checking us out tonight on Tuesday. We'll be back Sunday night with One Time for the Fan at 8 p.m. So make sure y'all check us out there and check out One Time for the Fan while you're at it. And Lisa said, "Are you going to the draft, Dave?"
I wish I was. I don't think anybody from our team is going this year, but that's a great question. I got to check.
Yeah. Damsky might be going actually because he's up in Canada.
Damsky.
Only 2 hours from there.
That's right.
Yeah,
you can just sneak over the border. Yeah,
exactly.
Double A said square root of -1 is I, or what's known as an imaginary number in math. So he could wear an I. Yeah, that's there you go.
Nice work, hopefully. Nice work. Anyway, like I said, you guys check us out Sunday night. And next week, we'll probably be back on Tuesday again because I'm pretty sure my son's got baseball again next weekend. So on those baseball weeks, we have to basically record on Tuesday because every other day is taken up. So we'll be back then. And you guys can also email us, atlfalconfancast@gmail.com, if you'd like to send in any emails, any comments that you can't get on the show, or you just wanted to, any story you want to share with us, feel free. You follow us on Twitter, out of your effing mind, TikTok, Instagram, out of your Falcon mind. And we're starting to get more active. We're getting back into it now. Can't wait for the draft. We'll be live here doing the draft show just one night because we can't do all 3 days. We'll be doing the first round. It'll be us. It'll be guys from the New Millennium Falcons podcast. I think it's going to be pound for pound JR and Jonathan. We got to confirm that, but it should be like a triple cast with all of us on here, just talking about the pick and just having fun like we did last year. So that's the idea. So make sure y'all check us out for that. Appreciate y'all again for checking out tonight. Dave, always a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave.
Mike, take us out, bro.
Be on, guys.
Out of your Falcon mind. Peace.